Welcome to Light, Illumination, and the Law of Change. From the Sanctuary of Self, Rosicrucian Order, Library, Part 1 of 2, on Words of Wisdom. The ancient mystical order Rosicrucians, also known as the Rosicrucian Order, AMORC, is a worldwide cultural, educational, and philosophical organization that is perpetuating the profound and practical teachings of the Rosicrucians. These teachings, as passed down and added to over the centuries, from ancient Egypt to Europe and now all over the world, pertain to the mysteries of the universe, nature, and humans themselves. The Rosicrucian Library is a source of spiritual wisdom and insight that includes the important writings by the respected imperators of the order, such as Dr. Harvey Spencer Lewis, Ralph M. Lewis, and Christian Barnard. Today, we will read from Frater Ralph M. Lewis's book, The Sanctuary of Self, in Chapter 6, entitled Light and Illumination. We'll learn about the nature of darkness and light, and how, throughout history, those opposites were understood in comparison to how they are interpreted in the Rosicrucian order today. Light and illumination. Of all the contraries in nature, the opposites, light and darkness, are the most obvious. To the primitive mind, both light and darkness have a positive quality. Darkness has as much actuality to the primitive mind as does light. Some myths of primitive peoples represent light as being created out of the nature of darkness, but these are comparatively few. There are many experiences which are common to light and which we are accustomed to associate with the word light. By means of light, all of those things which constitute our visual world have existence to us. Even dangers are tangible, definite things in light, because they can be perceived. Their visual form depends upon light. When we open our eyes, light pours in, and with it comes vision, and all of those scenes, events, and circumstances which we associate with light. Conversely, when we close our eyes, or when the sun is veiled by clouds, or by the curtain of night, darkness comes, and with darkness, all of those things which we have known and which we have associated with light disappear. In darkness, there lurks terror for the unbridled imagination. Things can be conceived, but not perceived. In death also, there is no objective vision, but only darkness. Thus, darkness symbolizes death and oblivion. In Egypt, darkness and light were not conceived alone, as two different qualities, but as two different forces, like poles of a magnet. We know that the god Ra was symbolized by the sun and represented the positive, creative force of the sun. Darkness was symbolized by the god Set. It represented inertia in contrast to the activity related to the power of the sun. Consequently, darkness was a negative state. In fact, the Egyptians referred in their psalms to the sun forcing its way through the billowing clouds of darkness of night to emerge in the dawn, indicating that darkness was considered an inert opposition to the active forces of light. In the book of Genesis in the Old Testament, it is said, "Let there be light." Then we are told that God divided light from darkness. This very definitely indicates that darkness and light were considered by the ancient Hebrews as separate creations. It also indicates that the light of day was considered a physical condition and was referred to in that sense. The greater light, with its mystical and allegorical significance, was not included in this reference, because later we are told that God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens," and this referred to the stars and the moon, the lesser light. It concerned physical light, not a metaphor or an allegory. The symbolism of light and darkness in the moral sense does not definitely appear in the Bible until the New Testament, several centuries after the books of the Old Testament. There, darkness is made to represent concealment. Under cover of darkness, most crimes are committed. Consequently, darkness takes on the moral equivalent of evil. Conversely, light represents action in the open, things frankly and honestly done. So light is symbolically associated with goodness and virtue. Then we are told that our eyes may be open and our vision may be good, and yet we may not see. This implies that the mind is closed, that the mind is in darkness. Therefore, ignorance also becomes associated with darkness. Wisdom is related to light and to the open and searching mind. It is often said that those who search for knowledge and for learning are dwellers in light. It naturally follows that light is commonly held to be synonymous with learning and knowledge. In fact, there are a number of fraternal organizations today who oblige their candidates or applicants for membership to state in their applications that they are searching for light before they can be admitted. It is meant that they are searching for knowledge and for further learning. However, the mystics of old had a far different conception of light. To them, it did not mean merely knowledge and learning. The mystics and the Rosicrucians of today also distinguish between light and illumination. The distinction is a fine one, but worthy of our comprehension. Our eyes may be open and our vision good, and we may see things which we have never seen before. Consequently, we have knowledge of their existence. Yet, having seen these things and knowing that they may seem without purpose to us. We are still puzzled, still in doubt about them, and therefore our visual experience has little value to us. For example, we may be shown a large and complicated piece of machinery or laboratory apparatus. Our vision of it is quite clear. We can describe what we see, as well as the one who has pointed out the machinery to us, and yet it is still puzzling and confusing. We may therefore have perceptual light, an accumulation of facts, and yet remain very much mentally in the dark. Consequently, to the mystics, illumination means understanding. One may travel in light, thus one may be a searcher for knowledge, for new and strange facts, an unearther of information, a prober into tomes, and yet that is not sufficient. He must, with all of his light, eventually attain illumination or comprehension. In the Confessio Fraternitatis, which was one of the earliest public works issued by the Rosicrucian order in the 17th century, there was a statement to the effect that the world must awaken out of its stupor and go further to meet the sun of the morning. Now, during those days, there was an interest in knowledge and in learning. Men had vision, they could see, and many of them sought light. But the Confessio meant more than that. It meant that, in going further to meet the sun and awakening out of its stupor, the world would sometime have an understanding of itself and its purpose. Certainly, today's humanity is still greatly in need of understanding, even with all of the light and knowledge which we have. In the Rosicrucian studies, it is said that illumination follows a period of meditation. This meditation is a deliberation upon the knowledge which a Rosicrucian student has acquired from the degrees of his study. Consequently, it proves that illumination is understanding, a something which must follow knowledge. One of the Rosicrucian degrees is known as the Illuminati. It means that, at that time, the student's consciousness, the various aspects of his consciousness, should be imbued with an understanding of that which he has studied. We therefore should make profound comprehension our goal in life, not just a greater fount of knowledge or a greater accumulation of external things and facts. Light to the mystic always means illumination. Insightful viewers, we thank you for your presence for today's Words of Wisdom.